Most people believe that a lack of discipline is a character flaw, as if some people were born strong and others were born weak, as if procrastination were shame, as if delaying things meant laziness, as if failing to keep a promise to yourself meant you were somehow inferior. But that idea is wrong, not just philosophically, biologically. Because your brain was never designed to prioritize long-term goals. It wasn't designed to admire effort. It wasn't designed to love consistency. It wasn't designed to sacrifice comfort today for a better version of yourself 6 months from now. Your brain was designed to survive. And for most of human history, survival meant 3 things: conserving energy, seeking quick rewards, avoiding unnecessary effort. In other words, your brain does not want you going to the gym. It wants you on the couch, because that saves energy. It doesn't want you studying, writing, or working on something difficult. It wants the fastest reward available: a screen, a short video, a quick distraction, a burst of easy dopamine. And that's not a flaw. That's biology. The problem is that modern life demands the opposite. It demands focus, consistency, discipline, execution, resilience. So now there's a conflict inside you. On one side, a brain programmed to seek comfort and immediate reward. On the other, a world that demands the behavior of someone focused, persistent, and disciplined. And this is where most people destroy themselves, because they try to solve this conflict with guilt, with motivational quotes, with heroic promises made at night and broken the next morning. They say things like, "Tomorrow I'll change. Starting Monday I'll become a different person. This time it's for real." But in reality, they're trying to overcome millions of years of biological programming with emergency willpower. And that almost never lasts. If you've ever hated yourself for procrastinating, if you've ever felt weak because you couldn't stick to your own plan, if you've ever promised yourself something and then felt ashamed for breaking it, listen carefully. This video is not here to excuse you, but it's not here to humiliate you either. It's here to show you that maybe the problem isn't who you are. Maybe the problem is the way you were taught to think about discipline. Because real discipline does not come from force. Real discipline comes from structure. And once you understand that, everything changes. In theory, discipline sounds simple. You want something, you stay focused, you resist temptation, you repeat the behavior long enough. Done. But that idea is naive, because it ignores how the human brain actually works. Your brain is not interested in the person you want to become next year. It's interested in keeping you comfortable and energy efficient right now.
For most of human evolution, our ancestors lived in hostile environments. Scarcity was normal. Energy was precious. Comfort was rare. Surviving until tomorrow mattered more than optimizing your future. So the brain adapted. It prioritized immediate rewards. Eating now made more sense than storing for later. Sleeping longer felt safer than spending energy unnecessarily. Avoiding effort meant preserving strength for real danger. And here's the uncomfortable truth. That same software is still running inside you. When you try to wake up early to work out, your brain doesn't interpret that as self-improvement. It interprets it as a threat to comfort. When you open your laptop to study or build something difficult, Your brain doesn't think, "Great, we're building our future." It asks a different question. Is there something easier and more pleasurable available right now? And usually, there is. Your phone, your feed, short videos, notifications, endless distraction. Because immediate pleasure always feels more convincing than distant reward. And here's something most people still don't understand. Your brain is not rational, it's efficient. It doesn't choose what's best in the long term. It chooses what requires the least energy right now. That's why you know what you should do, and still don't do it. That's why you understand the value of consistency, and still sabotage yourself. That's why you make intelligent plans, but execute them like someone trapped in conflict. The problem is not lack of knowledge. The problem is friction. You're trying to operate like a logical machine while running on a brain designed for comfort, efficiency, and minimal resistance. So let's say this clearly. Maybe you're not undisciplined. Maybe you're just trying to defeat your own brain with brute force. And that's a war you almost always lose. Many people talk about motivation as if it were the solution, as if the real issue were simply wanting it more, as if you needed more energy, more passion, more inspiration. But motivation is unstable. It rises, it falls, it disappears, and it abandons you on the exact days you need it most. Which is why motivation cannot be the foundation of discipline. If you need motivation in order to do the right thing, you already started the game wrong. Because the moment you feel tired, frustrated, or emotionally drained, you return to autopilot. And autopilot always chooses the easiest path. So the first step isn't trying harder. The first step is understanding what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a brain that avoids effort, a system wired for immediate reward, a structure that needs to be redesigned, not beaten into submission. And that leads to the question that changes everything. What if the problem isn't you, but the environment you live in? Think about it. You decide to start working out. You feel motivated. You promise yourself that this time will be different. But when morning comes, your workout clothes are buried in a drawer. Your shoes are somewhere else. It's cold. Your phone is already in your hand. The couch is 3 steps away. And your favorite distraction is already open. In that moment, the decision isn't between good and bad. It's between easy and difficult, between visible and hidden, between low effort and high effort. And the brain, as we've seen, always chooses the path of least resistance. That's the mistake that destroys most attempts at change. People try to change behavior while keeping an environment that encourages the opposite. They want to read more, but their phone is always in their hand. They want to study, but their entire environment is designed for distraction. They want to wake up early, but they prepare the night as if they were sabotaging their own morning. And then they call it lack of discipline. No, that's poor architecture. There's a powerful concept behind this: choice architecture. The way your environment organizes your decisions before you even realize you're deciding. What's closer influences you. What's visible influences you. What requires fewer steps influences you. What's already prepared influences you. People love to romanticize self-control, as if it were a moral muscle, as if disciplined people were simply superior. But self-control is fragile, and a poorly designed environment crushes it easily. Want to read more? Leave the book on your bed, not hidden in a drawer. Want to reduce phone use? Turn off notifications, move the phone away. Create friction between you and distraction. Want to work out early? Prepare the environment the night before. Clothes ready, shoes ready, alarm far away. First step easy. Notice what this means. Discipline does not come from raw effort. It comes from preparation. Consistent people are not stronger. They are smarter in how they design their environment. They don't fight the brain. They guide it. They turn the right action into the easiest action. They reduce friction, increase visibility, create triggers, build a system where the good decision requires less energy than the bad one. And that's what you need to start doing. Stop treating discipline as a moral virtue. Start treating it as behavioral engineering. Now you might be thinking, okay, I understand the brain avoids effort and the environment matters, but how do I turn this into automatic habits? That's where one of the most powerful strategies appears: habit stacking. The human brain operates through loops: cue, routine, reward. Those loops already run your life every day. You brush your teeth after waking up. You check your phone when you sit down. You make coffee when you enter the kitchen. You perform dozens of actions automatically. So the real question isn't, how do I create discipline from nothing? The real question is, how do I attach a new behavior to something my brain already does automatically? That's what habit stacking does. After brushing your teeth, meditate for 2 minutes. After making coffee, read 1 page. After sitting at your desk, write 3 lines before opening anything else. You attach a new action to an existing one, so the brain doesn't need to start from zero. It simply rides a track that already exists. And that works for a simple reason. Starting is the hardest part. Initiating requires more energy than continuing. So when you remove the weight of starting, you remove most of the resistance. That's why people fail when they try to change their entire life overnight. 1-hour workouts, 2 hours of studying, 20 minutes of meditation, total identity transformation in 48 hours.
That's strategic stupidity, because the brain resists anything that feels big, distant, abstract, and difficult. The brain accepts what feels small, clear, immediate, and simple. So start ridiculously small. 1 page, 2 minutes, 1 exercise, 1 note, 5 minutes. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're teaching your brain that the new behavior is not a threat. Over time, small becomes familiar. Familiar becomes automatic. Automatic becomes identity. And something interesting happens. You stop relying on heroism and start living through structure. But there's still one dangerous belief that needs to die. The idea that procrastination is laziness, one of the most destructive myths in productivity culture, because it turns a design problem into a moral defect. You fail to act and blame your character. You fail to stay consistent and call yourself weak. You struggle and conclude something is wrong with you. But procrastination is not lack of character. It's a symptom, a signal that your system is poorly designed. When you procrastinate, usually one of 4 things is happening. The action is not obvious. The action is not attractive. The action is not easy. The action is not satisfying.
If a habit is hidden, the brain forgets it. If it feels boring or heavy, the brain avoids it. If starting requires too much effort, the brain delays it. If there's no reward, the brain never attaches to it. That's why people say, "I'm a procrastinator," when the truth is, my system is badly built. And once you redesign the system, everything changes. Because discipline was never about force, it was about structure. Discipline is not strength. It is not talent. It is not a gift given to a few. Discipline is a consequence of environment, of systems, of repetition, of identity. And once those align, you stop fighting yourself. And finally, start working with your own mind.
Discipline is not strength. It's not talent. And it's not a rare gift given to a few exceptional people. Discipline is a consequence of environment, of systems, of repetition, of identity. And when those things align, you stop fighting yourself and finally start working with your own mind. Now I want to ask you something. What is one habit in your life that you know needs to be redesigned? Write it in the comments, because the simple act of writing it down is already a vote for the person you're becoming. And if this video changed the way you see discipline, subscribe to the channel. Because here we don't just repeat motivational phrases, we break down the psychology behind behavior, so you can finally stop fighting yourself and start building a life that actually works.